evening. Welcome to Laughing Monkey Music Show. Today we're going to special guest, Ronnie. Ronnie, known for KIX, but hopefully he's going to be known for his band he's been doing for many years, Blues Vultures. They got a new album out. Third album or second? Third, right?
Third
Okay,
with the Blues Vultures.
right.
Thank you,
So,
Sean.
how you doing, man? You look great.
I'm doing great, and I'll say this: 3 years, 4 months, 10 days sober and clean, and it. I'm grateful. New record. I poured my heart and soul into it for about a year and 4 months. I'd worked on some of the songs even while I was in rehab. When they let me have a guitar, I started
Yeah,
developing the songs. And yeah, so I'm grateful to Rich Moxley and Joe Manfrey, who played on the record. Joe's the drummer. Rich is the other guitarist. Rich has been with me for 20 years, putting up with me.
oh,
And Joe's been playing drums with me for about 5 years, with us, I mean.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
So they're good guys. Our bass players, uh, Clifford, played on one song. He has a medical condition. He's my brother for years. He's a little bit younger than me. Uh, he played with us when we formed back once I left the rehab 3 years ago. He has a medical condition. God bless him. He has been through the ringer. He played on the track Electric Stars, and then he had to go through treatments. And so I played the bass on the rest of the record. Right now we have hired guns playing bass with us.
all right. Well, good hope and good wishes and good energy out to him, please.
Clifford, yes.
Yeah, to Clifford. Good. Everyone put the good thoughts out to him.
Thank you.
It gets better. So before we jump into this new album, let's pick up the end of. So you did get to do the last KIX show, which is great, right? You got to do some closure there, with the
Yes.
band. So that's good. I mean, those are the two. Everybody's always focused on, is he sober? What's going on with KIX? If you touch on it for 2 seconds, that's all I care about. I don't really care. I want to get into the new music.
Thank you.
So
Hats off.
that's all it's about for me. So I just want to say it looks like you had some good closure.
I
Good for
did.
you. All right,
And
that's great.
I was grateful to see the guys and all of them. And I was
Yeah,
grateful that they had me come up and play 5, 6 songs. And
yeah.
Bob was a godsend. The guy that took my place for 2 years. I was I went in, I got thrown in jail for disorderly conduct. I was Mr. Hyde on alcohol, fighting with police officers, things that I would normally do in my own right mind. And I got put in jail. Then I got locked down in a rehab, which I thanked the judge for 6 months, GPS. I couldn't walk up the sidewalk. Then I went to a year of strict recovery houses. I wasn't allowed to leave the state. I went through 9 months of a sober house until I was able to move back home. There was a
Wow.
period where I didn't know if for 5 months, I was not able to call my family or my kids. I didn't know if I'd ever see them or talk to them again. And I'd lost my job with the KIX band. But when you're that far down, uh, the only thing you can do is look up. And that's what I do every day of my life. And it saves my life. And
Well,
so
you've
does it.
got your family, so that's all that matters, really,
That's
and long
first
run.
and foremost.
That's all that really matters. Everything else is just stuff.
Thank you, Sean. Everything else is
So
just stuff.
it's just stuff, man. KIX is a good band, but family's forever. But I'm
Thank you.
glad as a fan you got some closure with your brothers.
I did.
Great. So that's
And
awesome. So
all right.
let's talk about some rock and roll. Let's talk about
Yes.
stuff that no one really focuses on. Let's talk about your new band, newish,
Oh,
oldish
yeah.
band, right? So let's go
Yeah.
back a little bit in the beginning because you have 3 albums out. I'll be honest with you, there's so much music out there, even from me in the peripherals. I was not aware of all this going on, as I'm sure a bunch of people aren't. Can we start like the formation of how the Blues Vultures kind of came in a little bit? Do a little history for people?
Yes. In 1996, KIX had split up as the original band with the bass
Mhm.
player I started the group with, who was a songwriter, Donnie Purnell.
Yep.
I started that band in December of 1976. A couple guys we played with were from Pittsburgh, a singer and guitarist. It didn't work out. We were so poor, we couldn't keep them coming back and forth. Uh, Fast forward, I told let Donnie know that, hey, I know a guitar player. It's really good. It was Brian Forsyth. We
Yep.
moved into his basement, practiced every day. A guy that played drums with me in my team, Donnie Spence, was the drummer. And we had a singer that played in one of Donnie's previous bands with Jimmy, Terry Brady, and he helped us get started. He wanted to go on to a career, but he said, you guys have to find a singer. So in 2 years, the drummer we had, his sister was dating a bass player, happened to be playing with Steve Whiteman. So Donnie and Brian and I got in the car. We went to Cumberland, Maryland. We're in tri-state area. I'm in Maryland.
Okay.
Donnie and Jimmy were from Waynesboro, PA. Steve's from West Virginia. So we drove about 80 miles and went to see this guy playing drums with a Schlitz shirt on, a Schlitz beer can on a holder, and a cigarette ashtray, smoking in between songs. And he was nailing like Boston. And I mean, I'm not a progressive rock guy, but I recognize Boston is a great band. He was singing this stuff. I'm like, oh my God. So we took him out during a break and played him our cassette with originals on it. And he moved to Hagerstown within 1 week. We all ended up in Hagerstown. It wasn't where any of us lived, but it was a central point, and the rent was cheap. And we practiced every day. And then it didn't work out with Donnie Spence. God bless him. May he rest in peace. He had the ism like I have, but he couldn't. I didn't recognize it when I was that young. He was a couple years older than me, but he just couldn't put the drink down. You can't be sneaking drinks when you play drums. No. And that was a band rule. No drugs or alcohol before a show or during the show. And we all honored that, but he didn't. And we had to replace him. It took a while to talk Jimmy into playing with us. He was in another band. He played with Donnie all through our teens, and I always went to see their bands. They had the best bands in the area, and I was always like trying to get in their band. So
and this was in Baltimore? This was in Baltimore?
Yeah, close to Baltimore. We're about 50 miles west.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's how the band started. 18 years, 5 albums, 6 with the live, 7 with one on a different called Show Business, which was on a independent label. And we split up after 18 years because after Hotwire came out, we missed the window. Nirvana had taken over. And it was a different era. Things changed. Things have to always change. Then Brian left the band in '92, and then we had Jimmy K. Bones come in and play guitar for 3 years. Yeah. And I went down with the ship the first time with Jimmy and the rest of the guys, and we split up for like 8 years. I had formed the Blues Vault. Well, actually, I recorded a CD when I lived in LA for about 4 years called The Slimmer Twins with Jeremy White, lead singer. I wrote songs with, great lyricists. And I just happened to get a text from the drummer today, Brent Fitz, who played drums on it. He plays with Slash. And
you played with a lot of people. He's a busy guy.
Yeah, I bragged to people. I told Brent today, I said, I still brag about you. I had you first, because he had just moved from Canada, and he was like 28 years old, and my wife was about his age. She's younger. They're all younger. Everybody's younger than me, except Keith Richards. And Brent played. She helped him stay in the country because she's from Germany. Yeah. She knew how to do it. So she helped Brent stay in the country, and then he recorded on the Slimmer Twins album. Gilby Clarke recorded it, and that's how I met Brent. Gilby used to take us up to the Baked Potato, and we'd jam with everybody. And this drummer came up and played, and I was like, wow, he plays behind the beat. His meter's impeccable, and he was just the greatest guy. And I was so glad to get a text from him today. And he's out playing, and just love the guy. And I still tell him, besides Charlie Watts, he's my favorite drummer on planet Earth. And no offense, Joe Manfred, you're good too, man. But yeah, so having said that, fast forward, I moved back here. My mom had passed away. My dad was selling the farm. I had a bunch of gear, and I had a bunch of stuff. I had to help my father. My brothers and I helped my father clean out the farm. He was 73. It was time for him. He worked his whole life. I worked with him for like
a real farm. It's not the expression we're selling the farm. You literally were selling a farm.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, you know, there's an expression. Oh, we're gonna sell
Yeah,
the farm. No, you
yeah.
literally sell a farm.
I
Okay.
had to come back and help Dad and my brothers. And when I came back, I put the Blues Vultures together. And the reason I did was I had to go back to Chuck Berry. I had to go back to Howlin' Wolf, Muddy Waters. It had just gotten out of hand with the whole 80s thing. I couldn't take listening to another song from the 80s. No offense, guys, but it was just time to go back and find out where we started.
Hmm.
And so I started out playing blues, and that's why I named the band the Blues Vultures. And I played Chuck Berry, played Rolling Stones, and then the songs I wrote just like were gauged to that style, and with cheap guitars, honky tonk bars, and picked to the bone. And this album, I've been listening to that band. That when I started out, it was like Let It Bleed. It was like Sticky Fingers. It was like 68 through 70 was my big influence.
Hmm.
This record, I was more quite influenced by 72, 73, 74, like the glitter rock, Slade,
Yeah.
T-Rex, Sweet, Queen, the early Queen.
Hmm.
Um, the list goes on. I'm forgetting a few off. Oh, early Alice Cooper group. I hail the early Alice Cooper group. Glenn Buxton's one of my favorite lead guitar players. And the whole band, the songs were great. Love It to
Oh yeah, I
Death.
agree.
Love It to Death is probably top, might be my favorite album ever. And next to Get Your Yayas Out and the Beatles, I went back, learned Beatles songs. We played Beatles songs, Stones songs. And then I learned from it. It inspires me. I put it down and then it comes out. It's like Keith said, you put your antennas out. And I wrote songs for the first two records. And for this last record, like I said, it's a little harder edged than the other two, except for track 5 is quite Stonesy, which
Yeah,
which
but I mean, I will say one thing, and if I interject for 1 second,
yes,
there's
sir.
people listening who are probably not aware. When you hear blues vultures, I don't know if everyone hears this. Like sometimes, to me, I mean, a lot of people say like, well, prog rock can be kind of pretentious because it goes on. But sometimes when an artist says, "I'm doing this, I'm going back into the blues," they get so like deep into themselves in the blues, where it kind of like loses the blueprint of rock and roll
Yeah.
too.
Uh-huh.
I think you know what I'm saying. Like you're like, oh my god, come on, like really, let's play a rock and roll song. Like it just goes too far. This is not that sound. This is a rock and roll band with a conglomeration of all these other artists' sounds influenced. You know, as the
It
flavors.
is.
That's what I hear. I don't hear it as like not as a traditional blues band. I feel the influences. It's a rock and roll band. It's just a rock and
It
roll band,
is.
is what I
Yeah.
hear. And I
Uh-huh.
say I respectfully, but to
Thank you.
me, when I hear everybody's like, I quit. I'm going to start a blues band. You're like, oh please, like you know what I'm saying. Like it just feels like just you know what I'm saying. It's like
I
that too much sometimes. And this is people. I just want people to know. Don't get turned off by that. Just the blues thing. It's a blues influence rock. It's like the Stones during their best period. It is. It's during all the good parts of the '70s rock. It's
yeah.
just good crunchy rock.
It's where it started from. And I
Yeah.
went back to that, and that's why the name. I really had talked with the band about changing the name because it's misleading. Uh, but it just, we really had deep discussions about it. They wanted to remain, let the name remain the
It's
same.
not a bad name. It's got a great image and everything. I just, to me, when you say I go back to the blues and the album's called Blues Vultures, just talking to people right now in the audience, I want them to be aware. It's just a good rock and roll album.
Thank you.
You know,
It is.
Aerosmith, early Aerosmith, bluesy,
Uh-huh.
that kind of bluesy. It's not the kind of too deep blues where people are like you
Right.
lose them.
Yeah, it's not.
That's
And
all.
yeah, and I'll say this and shut up. We've had, and I've had some people come up to me and go, "Oh, I like the blues." Well, yeah, that's where it comes from, and I play that at home. But you're not going to come in and hear a
Right,
bunch of all night blues. You're going to hear some rock. You're going to hear
right.
rock and roll. We do one blues song. And that's it. It's like Red House, only I changed the words. It's called My Baby Up and Left Me because I'm a big Hendrix fan. I didn't steal it from him, but it
Right.
influenced me.
Well, that's what it is. I mean, it's like I love there are some blues that I like. I like Johnny Winter. I like Tinsley
Oh,
Ellis. Yeah, Johnny I love. Third Degree album that was All Steel Dobro. That is the best blues
yeah,
album on
yeah,
the planet.
right.
That's my favorite album. Hands down. I love Tinsley Ellis. I mean, I do love blues, certain things. So I'm not like
Uh-huh.
But I'm saying, but this is just a rock and roll album, and that's
Thank
what people
you.
should. It's great, especially in the summertime. You want to put on some rock and roll in your car, or jamming
Uh,
out, or you're riding your bike nowadays, or whatever you're doing. You're mowing your lawn. You want to rock out. It's
yeah.
a good rock album. Is what it comes down to. You know.
Thank you, Sean. And I truly mean I poured my heart and soul into it. And that it I was a big Johnny Winter fan too. I saw him play a few times, like Johnny Winter and live with Rick Derringer. Oh my
Yeah.
God, that is a smoking rocking record. And you know, he was rocking and rolling on, but he also put out the blues records
Oh,
too.
he did.
Yeah, so it all comes from the same place. I mean, I
Yeah.
love to listen to Howlin' Wolf. He's one of my favorite singers. John Lennon's one of my favorite singers.
Yep.
I like David Johansen, Alice Cooper. I go to when I go to gigs, I sing along with Paul Rogers. I and I there are others. I missed like John Lennon. I mentioned that, and why am I forgetting my other influences? But yeah, the
Because you try to remember right now on the spot. That's why you're forgetting it. You're gonna remember it in
yeah,
10 minutes. You know,
yeah,
once we get in the show, you'll be like, "Ah, oh, son of a gun." Yeah, that's gonna
yeah,
happen.
yeah. So those are since I sing in this band, I have to practice, and those are the guys I practice to and with Mick Jagger, of course,
Of course.
and Steven Tyler, of course. You know, I don't
Yeah.
have that range, but I sing along with him, and I try to hit some of those notes. They're big influences, and
Well, especially in the earlier albums too, though. But as you said, you're saying, yeah, or like Sticky Fingers, or all those. Those are the good, really rock albums for me. The
yeah,
early Aerosmith. Get Your Wings. All the early albums. I mean, so those are the ones. It
uh-huh.
sounds like Mama Can. You get that really analog sound in the album. It's really nice, warm feeling. Your voice can be nice and gravelly. It's really, very strong. And I like that in the rock. I like that in the vocalists.
I do too.
Actually, let's talk about your vocals. So the change up from being guitar player to being guitar player vocalist, playing and singing are two different things. Also, that's a whole other animal.
It
But
is,
we'll start
and
there. Was that hard for you to transition to being a singer player at the same time?
it was. Uh, it's ironic. There was a young man who just came and helped me get my 1975 GMC van running. And I told him he's 25 years old, mechanic. His father is a drummer mechanic, and his name is Wade. He was the drummer that I started with when I moved back from Los Angeles. Jeremy sang on the Slimmer Twins record. When I
Yeah.
moved back, I knew I had to learn to sing and play. And Wade was the drummer that went through hearing me clank through Johnny Be Good,
Yeah.
a couple blues songs like Red House, through uh, back in the USSR to Jumpin' Jack Flash, and he helped me get started. And it's so funny that he just was here. His son was just here, helped me get my truck running. And I told his son, I said, "Your father helped me learn how to sing and play." And then
It's
and then
hard.
a drummer in LA before I left there, his name was Paul Black. He played drums and he helped me get started too. So he was the first, but we only got together once.
Has it affected your writing now? Like, let me give you an example. Before I say the question, like for me, when I started playing guitar, just kind of not that long ago, 5 6 years ago, songs you hear all the time, you're like, oh, I'm so tired of hearing that song. And then you start playing guitar and you play it on guitar, you're like, oh, I get it. I get the parts. They're really fun to play. I can't believe it. It's like a cliche, but these riffs, the chords are so great.
Uh-huh.
That being said, when you start singing now and playing guitar, has you been, oh, I get this, or oh, this transition is really good. Oh, this is going to influence me when I'm writing a song. You know what I'm saying? Has that
Uh-huh.
kind of like
Absolutely.
add to you that you weren't expecting all of a sudden? You're like, where'd this come from?
Absolutely. And that happened in the last couple of days, relearning a couple songs off of rocks.
Mhm.
There's a situation where I'm going to go play with one show with a cover band just to raise money for a recovery, and I'm learning songs off of rocks that I haven't played for years. I'm going, oh my gosh, goes here and that goes there, and the vocal line goes like this. It's amazing. That's a masterpiece, that record, and
Yeah.
the guitar playing on it. Huh, get out of here. It's great.
It's
Yeah.
it's crazy when you hear a song and you wouldn't have. I'll be honest, like I'll say, I was so tired of hearing the Eagles. But when I started, something happened. When I was playing an Eagles song for somebody, with somebody, I learned it. I was like, oh, well, that's kind of fun to play. Actually,
Oh
it's not
yeah.
knocking. You get sick of hearing a song all the time or whatever. So you're like, oh, I don't want to hear it ever again and be in practice. You know what I mean? How many songs have you played Hotel California or some Eagles song for the billionth time? But then you play it on guitar for the first time. You're like, oh, it's kind of
Uh-huh.
fun. It's kind of fun.
Oh,
But and that's what I'm
absolutely.
saying. It's kind of like you re. It's like through different eyes, like a child's eyes. You get to look at something differently. So you
Yeah.
being a singer now, playing these songs
Hmm.
is maybe a different thing too.
It is. And yeah, like the songs on the new record, we're doing four, and You Can't Ruffle My Feathers, we're gonna do next. And I'm still working on playing those riffs and singing it. So I was just downstairs today, after I was with my kids, and I was working on that, going, oh, okay, I need some work here. I need to keep practicing. So yeah, it's a labor of love. It really is. Um,
But they're your songs, so if you make a mistake, you do it twice. They say just do it twice. It's not a mistake anymore.
that's right.
That's
That's right.
professional. That's the first thing you learn when you play an instrument, right? Twice is not
Yeah,
a mistake.
that's I heard Alice Cooper say that too. I'm a big Alice Cooper fan,
As I am.
and yeah, and I respect his sobriety. I respect his beliefs, and
Oh yeah,
he happened to say, if you go out and if a guitar player trips over his amps and falls, do it a second time because it looks like part of the show. I was like,
yeah.
that's genius.
I can't tell you how many musicians have told me that. They're like, they talk about like making a mistake, and they've been doing these forever. I mean, you would use some musicians been on here, and they're like, you're like, you know what though? I'm like, it's your song. Like, you know what? I just do it twice, and people think it's
Yeah,
part of the show, and that's
that's
it. And
right.
I'm like, there you go, you win. You win the
Uh-huh.
internet for the day.
That's right.
But that's the thing. They are your songs, and it's got to be pretty awesome at this point. Everything you've gone through,
Hmm.
winning back your sobriety, having your family back in your corner with you, and then you can
Yeah.
still
Thank
go out
you,
and do
Sean.
original. Congratulations on that, Dan. Which, like I said, it's always the most important. And then you can now have your own band behind you that you're leading everything.
Yeah.
That's pretty crazy. That's pretty good. It's pretty impressive.
It I'm grateful for it. And
You worked for it though.
I
You
don't
earned it
take,
though. You did earn it. You don't take it for granted,
yeah,
but you did earn it. You got to give yourself accolades for what you
yes.
did.
Yeah, and it's like I said before, it's a labor of love, and I love it. I have my passion for, I can't put these things down,
Mhm.
and I like singing. I was just downstairs practicing along with the record because I just heard the mastering for the vinyl, and it
Yeah,
sounds killer. And
nice.
Rich sent it to me, the other guitarist, and we're gonna put out the record. We're gonna put it out on vinyl next.
Mhm.
Right now it's out on CD, of course. And but yeah, I was singing along with it. And I was like, okay, yeah. And I took a couple vocal lessons to learn a few tricks to warm up my voice. But mostly for me is I sing along with the guys I love. David Johansen, Mick Jagger, like I said, Paul Rogers.
Yeah,
I love Freddie Mercury. Forget about me singing along with him. There's a couple things like the mellow things
right.
and the falsettos. Like I'll try to sing. What a great front man that guy was.
Oh yeah.
And I saw them in 1973. Their first tour with Mata Hoople. They were fantastic. They looked great, sounded great. My favorite Queen song is "Liar" and "Keep Yourself
Oh,
Alive."
yeah.
And they're rocking songs. Great band. A little different
It
than the
changes for
others.
me. I think Seven Seas of Rye is my favorite at this point, but
Okay.
it always changes with me because I'm a
Uh-huh.
big rock
Yeah.
fan too.
Yes. But then I recognize Slade. It's like they're in your face. And they were the first guys, I think, to have what I call the ego boxes like KIX had. I think we stole it from, we don't steal, we borrow. I think we saw Ramones doing that when we played with them. And we had these boxes that Brian and I go up, we call it ego box when we play our solos. And,
Oh, the you
and
climb up on, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And there were a couple times I thought I was going to fall off. I was like, oh my gosh, real high stages, especially in Detroit, Michigan at Harpo's. That stage is 14 feet high, and these boxes are out on the edge. I get up, my hair's in my face, lights in my eyes, and I'm like, oh boy, just stand still. But Brian's over there rocking out. He was like, dude, how do you do that? And he flies off. I was like, but anyway, so having said that, Slade was the band I saw do that first. I love that band because they had great songs and
The
they
melodies
were
were crazy though. The riffs and the melodies were almost the beginning of like 80s metal to me on some level. Not take away
right.
from Sabbath and all that, blah blah blah. But I don't
No,
think people give Slade enough credit for those big choruses and those big
big
riffs
course, right.
and the production. You mean, and I don't think nobody ever talks about the production of the albums either, which goes along with you know what I mean. You don't even think about the production when you hear the riffs and
Yeah.
the choruses, and it's all part of it.
Uh-huh.
And I think you know it carried over. You know, a lot of
Oh,
bands back then.
absolutely. And that goes along with Ziggy Stardust and Aladdin Sane,
Yep.
Mick Ronson. Mick Ronson is one of my favorite guitar
Yeah.
players. Oh my God. My son's name's Ronson after Mick Ronson.
Oh
And
wow.
Ronson Keith, after Keith Richards.
Yep.
And let me not diminish Keith Richards. Oh my God. I mean, the beginning of Angie on acoustic guitar,
Hmm.
what a piece of that's fabulous guitar playing. And his open G, like I had Telly downstairs with this E string off, and when
I
you
know.
play it through a
I
Fender
think
amp,
strings. How do you play without strings to begin with? Like this, I mean, these are the strings. You know.
yeah, I just take off the low E, open G, so it doesn't flop around. You just two chords. Your primary chord and your fourth, and it's just wonderful. And
Yeah.
yeah, so all that stuff's just wonderful. And listen to Mick Taylor, what a great guitar player.
Hmm.
And then when Ronnie Wood came in, I went back. Oh my God, when he was at the Faces, Maggie
Yeah.
May playing,
Yeah. I would have pieces.
and
Yep.
and he was in the Byrds in England. His guitar playing was very innovative at that time, but he fit right in with the Stones. And he was the uh when I went to see the Stones for the first time, it was 1975. He was the guitar player. That was his first tour. I didn't get to see Mick Taylor. Of course, I didn't get to see Brian Jones. Hats off to Brian Jones for starting that
Yep.
band.
Yep. He's a great man. I just had this in an episode a while back. I'm gonna plug my show, but you ever hear Prince Stash? He was he actually got arrested with Brian during all the you know with Stones and stuff.
Uh,
He was friends with them during that whole period. He gave me some really great details about behind the scenes with the Stones and
uh-huh.
him and the Beatles and stuff.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
fantastic to hear some early Brian Jones stories, I tell you. But
Oh, wow.
fantastic musician himself.
Oh, yeah. Slide playing, and he could pick up any instrument and play it. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's unfortunate how it ended. And I can relate to it through drug addiction and
Mm-hmm.
alcoholism and um, just blaming other people for things and not taking accountability for yourself. And I don't do that anymore. I try not to. It's I have to look at myself first. And I don't think Brian Jones, there wasn't nobody knew about AA was been around since 1935, but I don't think he knew about that. And he just went down that rabbit hole and never came out. God bless him.
He had
But he
issues with drinking and alcohol. That he was not supposed to talk. The lawyers didn't want to talk to the Stones because of the arrest. That he was paranoid about getting
yeah,
going to jail. So he
uh,
separated himself from this. Like so, he had so many forces on his own that
yeah,
he was on a downward spiral no matter what he did.
I see.
You know.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, Mick and Keith started writing the songs, and that really hurt for a guy that started the band. And I know what that's like. But when I started KIX,
Plus,
I
they were
knew
successful. Plus, they were successful.
majorly success. I mean,
So that's
one of
even
the
bigger
biggest
kick
bands
in
in
the
the
butt.
world. And but I knew when the KIX started, Donnie was the songwriter. That was it. He was my boss. I respected him. I still do. I'm grateful to him for writing all these great songs and keeping me working for 18 years of my life. Yeah, we split up for 8 years. Yeah, I was opening up for Steve's band, Funny Money, with the Blues Vultures, a club owner said, "Hey, what if we get Brian in and you guys do a kick set?" We did. Uh, and then, but at first, I was apprehensive about doing it because I wanted Donnie back in the band. Others did not for various reasons. I think Brian wanted back in the band.
I've had Brian on. I know Donnie ruled with Iron and Fist, and it was too much for people. You know, I
Yeah,
just know that
but
not for Brian, just knowing the history. I mean, it's pretty evident, and you're being very
mhm.
giving of them. But I mean, and I think there's a balance of being a good leader and being a boss. And
uh,
it sounds like the lines blurred for a lot of people, which
it
made it
was at
kind of hard
times.
to be in a creative entity. You're supposed to be having
Uh-huh.
fun and be creative, and if you're
Yeah,
not part of that, it kind of doesn't it's not fun anymore. You know what I mean?
yeah. I believe that there always has to
I
be the
appreciate your
guy.
diplomacy.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, there were some rough times, and especially with me, but when I look at it, I'm just totally grateful for his leadership and his songwriting. Without him, where would have we been? Nowhere. I mean, I'd still be playing in a cover band. I wouldn't. That's why I started with Donnie, because I was tired of playing cover songs all through my teens. I was in one original band with a guy who we were called Hot Rod. We used to open up for Donnie's bands, and he was older than me. He's a good guitar player. It was very free sounding. Paul Costas is one of my favorite guitar players from Free. And that's the style of Hot Rod was. But then I went into a cover band for a year, great players, but I was sick of it. And I was making decent money. And I kept hearing Donnie's band playing these originals. And I couldn't take it playing another cover song. And I knew I had to get out of that. So at age 20, I got together with Donnie. He was a couple years older than me. And first song he ever showed me was Atomic Bombs. And we started there. Granted, when we started playing, we had to do the old school way. You play four covers, you put your original in the middle. You play four covers, you
Yeah.
do another original. We played 3 sets a night. And that's how I started out with the Blues Vultures. We played a lot of covers, throwing our originals in for 3 sets. I am grateful to say, like you had mentioned, that now I'm able to play shows and do 90-minute sets of 90% originals. We do a couple old school, like I'll do Walking the Dog or Jumping Jack Flash, a couple
A lot of bands
originals.
do. A lot of
Yeah,
good bands. I mean,
yeah.
you go see the Foo Fighters, you go see Aerosmith. That is, or, what are you saying? A lot of those
Hmm.
bands still do covers. I mean, I
Yeah.
mean, there's nothing wrong
Yes.
with doing a few covers. It's just how it's fun for one band.
It's fun.
I just saw Mr. Big. They just ended with like 3 or 4 cover songs at the end, and
Oh
they've got
yeah.
enough material. They could have gone on for 4 hours
Oh
original,
yeah.
but for
Right.
fun, they throw songs.
Fun.
So I mean, it's fun when your favorite artist or an artist you love plays their influences.
That's true. Absolutely. And it kind of shows where the roots come from. And
I
and
mean,
it
before Spotify, I mean, or I hate saying Spotify or anything. I mean, I remember when I was younger, obviously you're a little older than I am. But you hear somebody, you hear who your artist is, I'd be like, well, who did they influence? And then who they listen to? And
right.
it was harder back then because you couldn't get on the rabbit hole of the internet to really look up stuff.
You
But you had to go
couldn't.
back and records and tapes and late night radio shows to
Uh-huh.
do that. But that's for someone like me.
Right.
I love when a band I like plays covers at the end or
Oh
somewhere in there because
yeah.
you know.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, bands in the when I was growing up, it was pretty mysterious. Like I didn't know much about Aerosmith, but I would go see them at the Capitol Center every time they played, and that's the only thing I knew about. And then we would get what it was a hit parade or Cream, and
Yep,
there might be an article. The same was with Alice Cooper Group. It was like they were in circus, and it was like a total mystery. There
that
was a
was like the
pure,
albums too, right? But with vinyl, like the pictures in it, you just saw the pictures in
yeah,
the vinyl albums, and you're like, oh, the tour bus, like it looks so mysterious, but
right,
it's just a couple pictures. Like it'd be like
right,
Polaroids all thrown out and pictures of Polaroids on the album cover, something like
right.
Skinner or something, and you're like, oh, this
Uh-huh.
looks so awesome, and you only hear parts of the songs, you don't know where this came from or anything, and
Yeah,
it's like
right.
totally mysterious.
Yep, absolutely. And hopefully fans recognize that. I recognize that. I'm sure that they do. And that's the other part of it. Without the fans, where would we all be? The fans are just and I've heard Kiss say that many times. Without our fans, we'd be nowhere. And that's the same with KIX. Hats off to the fans. It's the same with the Blues Vultures. We're building a fan base, and I'm grateful to be on your show tonight to maybe get out to some more people. And yeah, so the fans are everything. And to
Well, it's
or I'd
important being
be
a real band though, too. Though,
yeah,
obviously Kiss. in a couple more years, it's gonna be Kiss's avatars saying thank you for the fans, so they won't be a real band anymore. So it's
Yeah,
important as they make that joke. I'm just teasing, but
I
they
understand.
put their time in as a live band. I think what I'm saying is
They did.
people love live music, and that's what you
Yeah.
are. You're a
Yes.
live rock and roll band. You're breathing
Uh-huh.
machine
Yep.
animal, and I think that's what it really comes down to. So as far as songs, are you doing a lot of songs with the new album? Are you gonna mix it up? Should you be doing shows? What are we doing? Look at the future for you guys.
Okay. Well, August 17th, we play at a place called the Racehorse Tavern in Thomasville, PA. Jim uh, has been a godsend. He was there for me when nobody else was, when I came out of
Mm-hmm.
rehab, as well as Dave Rohde. We played 2 weeks ago for our CD release show, and he was another person who was there for me. And these guys gave me a shot with the Blues Vultures to come play. So I always go back and play for Dave Rohde at Club 66, and then Jim up at the Racehorse Tavern. We're going to be
Mm-hmm.
there August 17th. Ted Poley's opening up for us from Danger Danger.
Yeah,
Great guy. Uh,
he is
he's not opening. We're playing together.
like a
That's yeah,
co-headlining thing.
yeah. We're playing with Ted. And then on August 30th, we played a place and up north of Baltimore called McAvoy's. We played there last year about the same time. And then uh, on September 6th, we play at the Whiskey A Go Go in Los Angeles.
Wow.
And September 7th, we play at Count's
Wow.
Vamped in Vegas. And I'm very grateful to be playing these venues. Cracking the whip with the band. Hey guys, they'll chew you up and spit you out there. It's time to let's crack the whip. We always practice, but I just have to be somewhat of a leader. Just say that. Hey,
Especially, no. I mean, you got to get everybody's foot tapping. Well, in LA, there's a lot of arm crossing, and probably more in Vegas now because I heard LA's more of becoming a ghost town. But
yeah, I've heard that too. So
it's mostly only like the go go and a couple of clubs are still packing in the vibe, but everywhere else is kind of dead.
yeah,
You know?
I'm grateful I got to play there 9 or 10 times with the KIX band, and the audience was very
Yeah.
receptive, and the spirit of Jim Morris is in that room.
Whiskey is still kicking. I mean, they are still packing into one of the few places that are doing it nowadays.
That's good. I'm glad to hear it, and I'm grateful to Jake who booked us there, and
Yeah.
our manager Rick. And without that, I don't know if I'd be playing there. So I'm grateful to those guys. Jake booked us there, and Rick, our manager, uh, he knew Jake, and
Jake,
well, I
I've
knew
heard a lot of
Jake
good
too.
things about Jake. I've heard a lot of
Yeah,
good
he's a
things about
great
Jake.
guy. Yeah, and he actually talked to me on the phone a couple times, but I
Yeah.
needed Rick to follow through.
Yeah.
And then we come back and we're playing at the Rams Head on Stage in Annapolis, Maryland. It's a cool little venue. That's November 22nd. In between, we're trying to get a show at Rams Head Live in Baltimore. And so,
Yeah, a little tour going
uh,
on there, huh? Back to the few
yeah,
shows. Yeah, got a little bit of a run.
we used to play 2 nights a week, but that was at every bar we could book ourselves in and play 3 sets. We don't do that anymore. It's just because we want to do shows now. We want to
Yeah.
have time to let people know to come out, and we want to do a show for our fans. And that's what it's all about. And it's showbiz. I mean, I saw when I was 7 years old, 60 years ago, I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan Show.
Yeah.
I grew up on a farm. My dad always had country music playing in the barn. I heard Conway Twitty, I heard Roy Clark, I heard Buck Owens, I heard Chet Atkins. I loved the sound of twang of guitars. And I had like a plastic guitar or something. My uncle used to sing and play ukulele, gave me his ukulele on my mom's side of the family. And then when I was 7 years old, I saw the Beatles on that Sullivan Show, and a lot of people did, and all the guys in the KIX band did. And uh, when I saw that, I heard the guitars, then I heard the songs, and then they had a look. It's a package deal. It's entertainment.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes back to Elvis. Even Chuck Berry had a shtick. You know, he had the duck walk. He had a show. And then that's what it's all. It's the music. It's like I heard Alice Cooper say the other night, you got to have the cake first, then you put the icing on. And it's so true. Without the cake, you can't have the icing. I mean, some do, but I
But even
believe
not
in
having
that.
that is, but even not having an image is an image. I mean, like
Yeah.
Tesla, fantastic band.
Oh,
They
absolutely.
they really. I know MTV, tried pushing them to have this like certain image when they first came out, but pretty quickly they're like, this is us, just jeans and t-shirts,
Uh-huh.
which is very relatable.
Oh,
And
yeah.
but
And
not having it, but not having an image. Their image was just being themselves that
right.
most fans can relate to. So it's not like it was a preconceived image. It was just who they are. So,
Yeah.
but that
And
worked
that
because
it
I can
worked.
relate to that. I can relate to that. They went on stage with the same
Absolutely.
clothes I wore: collared shirts,
Absolutely.
jeans.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, I just I see that. I recognize that the KIX band did tours with Tesla where they
okay.
headline, we opened for them. Great guys,
Oh yeah,
great
right.
singer. What a guitar player. Forget it, Hannon,
Yep,
Frank.
yep.
What a nice guy. And then in the beginning, it was Tommy that played guitar, and he was a cool guy too. Um, and then yeah, all those guys are really great
Yeah.
guys.
And Tommy had his own demons too. So, you know,
Absolutely, he
very,
did.
very parallel career there were.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought about him quite a few times when I was down in the rabbit hole. I thought, man, that cat went through this too. And but he's out playing again too.
Yeah, I saw him not long ago playing.
Oh,
He sounded
cool.
good. He looked pretty
Yeah,
good. So
good.
I wish power to him too. I like to
Yes.
see everybody doing good and playing music and being healthy.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
that's what it's about.
it's very important.
Yeah,
Enjoying yourself. Right?
it, yeah, I take my sobriety seriously, and I listen to, oh, like last night I was listening to Alice Cooper talk about his sobriety, and for me
Mhm.
that just fills my soul when I hear these guys that I listened to and grew up with talk about staying sober and clean, and how they go on stage, and when you come off, you turn it off, and you just are a normal guy, just like, hey, how you doing,
Mhm.
and I don't carry around any, like, I try not to carry around any grandiose attitude or anything. I'll turn it on when I'm on stage, granted, but when I come off, hey, how you doing? Yeah, absolutely. Because
Yeah,
we're
I don't think
all the
uh,
same.
I
Yep.
don't think any people nowadays carry on that attitude. Not
Yeah.
professional musicians. There are younger bands. And when I started doing the show, I'll just say this: it's I wanted to do a mixture of older and younger bands and how to mix it up and help
Uh-huh.
one thing pull the other and pull the other. What's happening is there are a lot of the younger bands now. I'm not saying all of them, but a bunch I was dealing with, I got was a lot of attitude, a lot of ego,
Uh-huh.
and it was not just fun. And then I talked to somebody else who built stadiums and platinum albums, and they're just great and fantastic, and I'll be texting them, and I got these guys, knuckleheads, that haven't,
I
set
was
on
a
the diaper yet.
knucklehead when I was, yeah, I get it. I was a
The point
knucklehead when I
was,
was 22.
but just those days aren't those rock and roll days are gone now. Nowadays
They
you got to
are.
be clean and
They are.
sober, and you
You
got to be
do.
respectful, and you got to put the time in. And this is not that. This is not Zeppelin driving the motorcycle through the White
No,
House.
it
Those
is
days are
not.
gone. You need to be
They're gone.
respectful. So being this pseudo rock star thing nowadays is not it. All
No.
the true people
Yeah.
are just friends or fans, and they just work hard.
They
And
do. Yeah, we
you
want
know,
to put on a good show. People pay hard-earned money to come see bands play. I did. I
yeah,
still do. I mean, I'm wondering if I can afford to go see Aerosmith. I mean, I've seen them 50 times. The KIX
holy
band had
moly,
the honor of opening for them 3 times. And
wow,
but yeah, I mean, I've seen, and that goes with Alice Cooper. I've seen him at least 50 times as well. Only I
wow,
missed the original group. I missed them by a
oh
year. And the first tour I saw was Nightmare Tour when he had Lou Reed's band playing with him. And I was like, where's Dennis Dunaway? Where's Neil Smith? Where is Glenn Buxton. I mean, look at my guitar. This is a Glenn Buxton 68 reissue. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, we're down to earth, you know.
You are, and I want to. So as we get to the end of this, what I want to say is first, I want to thank you. This has been good. I've always enjoyed you in KIX, so I'm
Thank
glad I
you.
could rediscover this. It's kind of fun for me. So shout out to I'm sorry, I can't remember her name. Reach out to me, Andrea. She reached
Andrea.
out. Andrea, thank you to her
And
for helping
thank
me
you,
put this together.
Andrea. And I thank
And turning me on, and turning me
yeah,
on to this music that I was not aware of.
thank you.
So
We
where can people go besides so Bandcamp? Well, I'm sorry, hold on for a second. Bandcamp I'm gonna put all the links up so people can go.
okay.
So the Bandcamp
There's
page, right?
and the Facebook page, the Blues Vultures
Yep.
Facebook
Facebook.
page.
Okay.
And yeah, and we'll be selling them at our shows, of course. And we are right now we're playing 4 tracks off the record. We play
Mhm.
tracks off the other 2, and then we put a new song. We start with a new one, Rock Scars, and then we go and we do Electric Stars, we do Can't Stop Talking, and we just started doing Hang Me Out to Dry. We're going to start doing Can't Ruffle My Feathers. So we're going to do a
Nice.
lot. We're going to eventually play all the tracks off the new record.
Good.
And I thank you for listening to it. I appreciate your
It's
compliments on it.
it's good stuff. That's why I kind of rushed you in to get you doing this. I like the logo. I
Thank
think
you.
the full package. I really
Oh,
people
my
don't know
my
the
son
show.
did
I
the
kind of yeah, did great job. Great job.
I'll say this in shot. My son Rowan did the art. He did the front cover. Thank you,
Nice.
Rowan.
That's
Yeah.
really good. Does he do other stuff too? Commissions or stuff? Does he
Oh
he's
yeah,
pretty
he's
good.
quite the artist and quite a good guitar player at 15 years old.
Well, people like
Yeah.
the artwork, then reach out on the band page and maybe they can have
Thank you.
your son do some work for them if they
All
want. Because
right.
it's pretty badass looking work on there.
Yes, he did a great job.
But thank you. Did you want to wrap up and say anything? Thank anybody or
I
share
just
anything?
want to thank, well, first and foremost, I thank God for being here. I am not religious. I don't believe in the church, but I believe in God. I believe in Jesus Christ. That's what saves my life. AA saves my life,
Yep.
and the program. And I just want to say that rock and roll has saved my life too.
That's all
And it means
right.
everything to me. Hey,
Yep.
puppy. And rock and roll, it just feeds my soul, and I'm just
Mhm.
so grateful for it. And I'm going to keep rock and roll as it was formed in back in the 60s and 70s, alive as long as I live. And that's what I live for. My family first, uh,
Yep.
and sobriety, and playing this guitar. So thank you, Sean. You've been
Thank
great, man.
you. Thank you. We'll have you back on again too. Okay.
Okay,
Cool.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, fans.